All right, we in the bathroom. We are in the bathroom, but I just want to express a few thoughts since everyone's going crazy about the Diddy verdict. Man, look, none of that RICO stuff was ever going to stick. Y'all being surprised that it didn't surprises me because I never thought that it never seemed like they had really proof beyond a shadow of a doubt like they're supposed to have, right? That that he was guilty of most of that stuff, you know? So like we're not like you need evidence. We can't just go by feeling. Like when it happens to someone you love, you're like, "Oh, it's an injustice." But when it's somebody you really want to see go down, you're like, "Oh, it's an injustice that they didn't do the right thing without any evidence." It's like, no, there's gray, right? We can't be stared by our emotions. Did he foul? Did he been foul? If you're 30 and up and you're just now finding out that Diddy is foul, I don't know if you deserve to have an opinion because you've been under a rock the last 30 or more years. It's been known my whole life he's been foul. Like, like, come on. All you have to do is watch what happened to anyone and everyone on Bad Boy. Realize that no one has even stayed on Bad Boy longer than maybe a year or so. After like, except for maybe Biggie, but then after that, after that, no. Come on. So I need you guys to really be real here. Now, what I'm saying is this too. It may be a good thing. This is gonna make some of y'all mad that he wasn't he a lot of those RICO charges, that's what they really tried to get him on. Maybe good that they didn't stick. Here's why. Because we can't because like if we could demonstrate, and I'm not a legal expert, so I'm gonna say that right now. I'm not a legal expert. So if somebody chimes in and they know what they're talking about, do it. But if we could demonstrate that Cassie was forced in some instances, and that's enough for trafficking, then in the instances where we know she was a willing participant, maybe we can also demonstrate that she is guilty of partaking in the trafficking because we know she was orchestrating and putting those events together and getting the people together and making the phone calls. Well, that implicates you also, makes you guilty also. So if he would have gone down, it's possible she could have ended up going down. And that's also why, from my understanding, she actually had to testify because I'm sure she wouldn't have if she didn't have to, because testifying actually saved her in that regard. So it's important to realize that there's other things going on behind the scenes. I personally believe that, once Diddy started talking about black people holding the vote hostage and holding Democrats accountable, that this one's problem started. And that's why they didn't have significant evidence for the things that they wanted because it was more of a hit, so to speak. It was never about really getting those charges out there. It was about stripping him of his power and his influence that they think he had. I don't know. I've been always wondering why they always brought him up. Like, oh yeah, we're going to get P Diddy because that's what old people call him, either P Diddy or Puffy. Which calling yourself Puff Daddy was already a red flag. We knew he was up to some strange behavior by calling himself that. But anyways, yeah, we're going to get his opinion. Like, dude, like, why do all white people think that black people care about what Diddy? Like, Diddy is not the voice to the black community, but that's what they thought he was. So when he started trying to actually be that voice, they got him. Nobody's clean. Everyone's dirty. If you've been paying attention, the Diddy parties and all that stuff that came out, it wasn't a shock to anybody, because we've been hearing those stories for years. We've been knowing about those parties for years. People have been going to them parties to get on, stay on, and make upward motion for years. And that's why the response was so mixed. Some of y'all who were just finding out about it, that's why y'all had a lot more sympathy than people that have been knowing about it because you know why you're going to the Diddy party. You know why you're going up there and in those rooms. You know. Like it wasn't, let's go hang out and party. Like you knew it was going to be some freaky stuff going on and going down. Only people I feel bad for are those who were like kids when they got involved, like Justin Bieber, because And we know what the industry did to him. If y'all don't know, then we know. He told us. You just ain't listening. So that's my opinion on that. But anyways, yeah, it may be good that those charges, because then you would see Cassie probably going down, because she was. If you say, because if you were consenting at various points in the beginning, in the midst of, like, yeah, you could withdraw consent. I think that's important too, to understand it. In a sexual encounter, someone can always withdraw consent. But in this overall scheme of things, if we're talking about trafficking and all that, and then you're saying, well, I was scared. Well, can you prove you were scared? But you have in writing moments where you were a willing participant. How can I prove that you were afraid? Or if you were like, yeah, I was at first willing. Okay, well, you were part of trafficking. At one point, you still got to face that. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, it shows you, be careful what you write. Even if you're in a situation like this and you are saying things because you are afraid, dude, you gotta, if you got it in documentation, you're not, it makes you look like you're not afraid. That's difficult. Maybe tell somebody that, hey, I just said I was going to go and blow 20 guys because I'm afraid he's going to kill me or something. Just so we know, if ever comes down to something like this, you can go and say in timestamp, but like, no, I told somebody why I was doing this. You have that in writing too. Because if we got in writing, yo, I had a good time. It makes it hard. And people say, oh, well, we want to believe. People like me don't believe that. Just believe all women and all their claim stuff, because we grew up seeing women lie. We grew up with men coming home after the DNA freedom, because you guys got to understand, you young guys got to understand, in the 80s and things, there wasn't really DNA. They couldn't test that. So when they had the opportunity, they went back and tested a lot of stuff, and a lot of people were demonstrated innocent, who were claiming innocent, but they went to jail anyways. So they got freed. When you grow up in an environment like that, you realize that I can't just believe what women say, especially when women will lie and then brag about lying. See, a lot of y'all didn't grow up in environments like that, or y'all didn't grow up hearing those conversations, so you don't feel the same way. You get stirred by your heart. And then people say, well, this is why women don't speak up. Well, what about the men? There were men that said Diddy done did this to them, touched on them. And the fact that you guys don't care about that, or don't acknowledge that, or not speaking on that, also shows why when things happen to men, men do not speak up. Why? Because nobody cares. So they just humiliated themselves in front of the world, and nobody cares. Nobody's even concerned. It's like it never happened. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that there's a lot more going on here. The verdict should not be a shock for anybody who's actually paying attention. The fact that they didn't have enough evidence and they were trying to get witnesses and people as the case was going shows me they weren't planning to indict. So it was never really about getting him on those RICO charges, but stripping him of his influence, because he started speaking out politically, what shows you something right there. And it may be good in the end, because it does save Cassie. Cassie, who was already paid off and was trying to put this behind her, it may have actually saved her, because she was a willing participant at one point. So if he was part of trafficking, she was a part of trafficking. That implicates her. She could go down for that. They don't care. They will put, if they put, you know how many pregnant black women they put in jail? They don't care if you're pregnant, got kids, they will throw you in there. They're not going to have the sympathy y'all have for her when y'all saw her before she gave birth. They will throw her in there. That's why she had to testify. She didn't want nothing to do with it. And now she's saying she's scared Diddy's going to do something to her. She's just playing into it. I ain't going to say she's just playing into it, because he probably will, just because. Because he gave her that bread and was like, go your own way. All he had to do was beat the charges, and she would have been fine. She never had to speak up, because she wouldn't have had no issue. She would never went to jail or nothing like that. Like, she was he would have to lose for her to face the time. So that's all I'm saying. And he didn't, not in that way, but he still lost. That's the overall thing. He still lost, because you cannot do every rumor was now confirmed, and worse, as far as the details, the details. And on top of that, it's out there in the public eye. So even those who were ignorant can't claim ignorance, and they weren't denied, really. So it's like, you can't do business with them publicly anymore. or your business is sunk. So he is sunk. And that's really all it was about. So their mission was accomplished. Y'all saying, oh, excuse me, justice wasn't served. Y'all only saying that because of the stuff with the women. Y'all not saying it with nothing else to do with what Diddy actually have been doing, that we definitely know he's been doing and up to. And even the stuff with the men and whatnot, and misusing and abusing his power. And the fact is that it was never about that to begin with. All these people in power that you think have power, that you see them promoting like they have power, have secrets. And just like Diddy, when you step out of line, they will get on your behind. The only reason they haven't done it to Trump is because, I mean, they tried, but they can't because he already done told you everything. And the little stuff that they did try to get him on, they really didn't. They got him on some stuff, but, I mean, they were trumped up. But he plays the game. So they really couldn't get him because he's not a likable, he doesn't have a likable demeanor. If you like him, you already like him. If you don't like him, you've been not liking him. So that makes it hard because he ain't do nothing like Diddy. So you already don't like him. He's already in the position. It's like me. My status right now, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I haven't done anything that y'all don't know about to like or not like me. It's a lot different with some of these other higher up guys. That's why they go to the Epstein Island and stuff. See, it's deeper than you think. They have you involved in stuff to get dirt on you. That's why you start seeing all your favorite artists also were at the Diddy parties. Because if they ever step out of line, there's dirt on them too. And there's going to be more than sucking off Diddy up in the back room. Trust and believe. How you going to act?